The following is a special presentation of the World Baseball Classic. Nighttime is falling in Tokyo. Everybody ready for Japan and Australia. That's just a taste of what you'll see and hear inside tonight in the Tokyo Dome. In Pool B, night 2 last night, Japan took down Cuba, but Cuba off the canvas beat China today. Australia makes its debut against the home team in front of another sellout. It's Japan and Australia. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Buck Martinez. There are 7 daily sports pages in Tokyo, and 2 days before this thing started, they were all talking about why can't Team Japan hit. Today, all those headlines are gone after an 11-run outburst against Cuba.
Well, Rich, you know, this is a very veteran team here for Samurai Japan, and you've seen major leaguers in the past. Who needs spring training? And once this action started for real, the bats really came around. 11 runs in game 1 against Cuba.
And the guy that was, I guess, getting the brunt of can't this guy hit went off last night.
Yeah,
Nobuhiro Matsuda.
Yeah, Matsuda's an 11-year veteran. He didn't have a very good spring. In fact, there was a lot of question as to if he would start in game 1. But he silenced all the critics with a 4-hit night, including this 3-run home run. And Matsuda hit balls all over the ballpark, and he tied a World Baseball Classic record with 4 hits in a game. He had a terrific start to his tournament. And, of course, he is right back in the lineup at third base again tonight, as they will go with that same lineup they used in game 1.
And why wouldn't you after that win over Cuba? Now, it's our first look at Australia. This is a country that has baseball ties, is still developing. 31 Aussies have played in the major leagues. John Diebel has been their manager for all 4 World Baseball Classics. If there's a strength on this team, it's pitching. And Tim Atherton, a guy that's trying to bounce back from a serious shoulder surgery, is their guy tonight.
Well, Tim Atherton is a terrific athlete. You can see he started out as an outfielder. He made the conversion to a pitcher, and Minnesota signed him. And in 5 minor league seasons, he put up big numbers. Then he had shoulder issues. He had surgery and missed a couple of seasons. But last year in Australia, he really threw the ball well. He's got a big arm, and he's getting stronger and stronger with every start. And I think he might have just enough fastball to tie up these Japanese hitters. He's got enough heat on his velocity. The fastball can get inside on these hitters in this Japanese lineup.
Well, he better, especially if Japan was swinging it like they swung it last night. It's Japan and Australia in the World Baseball Classic tonight from Tokyo. Come on inside the Tokyo Dome. First round Pool B, night 2. Japan is already 1-0, and Australia makes their 2017 World Baseball Classic debut. Sellout crowd, 45,000 here, and we'll find out early on right away if Japan is as hot as they were last night, because they're the visiting team. They'll hit first. Tetsudo Yamada, a great package of power and speed. Ryosuke Kikuchi is at second. This is the same lineup as last night. Nori Aoki had a terrific night with the bat and with the glove. Yoshitomo Tsutsugo, a mammoth home run and a big slugger for Japan. Sho Nakata's at first. Ayata Sakamoto at short. Seiya Suzuki in right. Nobuhiro Matsuda, the hero, at third. And Seiji Kobayashi behind the plate. And they'll be up against Tim Atherton.
Well, you can see Atherton pitching in Australia last year had a very good season. He's trying to come back from shoulder surgery. He missed 2 seasons recovering from that surgery. He's got a powerful arm, and his fastball's getting better and better all the time. The thing about him is he needs to throw strikes. He needs to pitch aggressively in the strike zone. He throws a heavy fastball with a very good slider and a straight changeup. He needs to throw strikes with his secondary pitches because that gives his fastball a little more movement and the ability to really tie up the hitters. And he also needs to be efficient. They'd like to see him pitch deep into this game, and he can do that by throwing first pitch strikes.
Well, defense behind him. Now, this is in terms of international experience and some major league experience, there are some guys out there that can play this game.
There sure are. They've got a pretty good defensive team with Kennelly in left, Denning in center, and Candelas in right. Welch, Harmon, Beresford, and Hughes around the infield. Alan de San Miguel, a very good catch and throw guy. He has played a long time in the minor leagues, and he can really throw. So that should be a weapon for them in what could be a very tightly contested ball game.
John Diebel. And you see the Australia manager, his resume, just 1 win for Australia in 3 previous World Baseball Classics. And his father, a great baseball player in Australia history as well. Minor league manager as well, and a major league coach. He was a first base coach for the Red Sox, now the Pacific Rim coordinator for the Dodgers. He helped assemble a couple World Championship teams in the front office of the Boston Red Sox as well. Here we go. And Atherton with a fastball that misses up. And the noise has started here. That didn't take long, Buck. They are in mid-game form.
Well, they sure were. They were lined up this afternoon to get in for this ball game because the ace of their hometown team here in Yomiuri, Sugano, is starting for Team Japan.
There's a strike. Corey Blazer is the home plate umpire. Todd Tishner is at first. Chin-Wing Su out of Taipei at second. And our good friend Fabrizio Fabrizi, the Italian umpire, is at third base. That may be the name of Pool B. And a fastball gets by Tetsudo Yamada. Not much gets by Yamada. What an incredible year he had his last 2 years. 38 home runs each year, over 100 RBIs, and over 30 stolen bases both those years. Into center field, that's a base hit. And so Yamada, who was 1 for 6 last night, leads off with a single.
That fastball up out over the plate, he really stays on it, and watch how he goes upstairs and gets on top of it and rips it past the second baseman for a leadoff single. He got beat a little bit back over the plate, but he's so quick with his hands, he was able to get on top of it and line it into center.
Ryosuke Kikuchi, the second baseman, lost amidst all of the home runs and the excitement offensively last night. The fact that Kikuchi and Sakamoto, the double play combination, Kikuchi's at second, Hayato Sakamoto is at short. They can really play defensively.
Turned a couple of double plays in that opening game against Cuba.
That one fouled back to the screen.
Both of the middle infielders have terrific range, and Kikuchi really shows a lot of range. He's got quick feet, and as we mentioned, both he and Sakamoto, a very good double play combination.
Runner bluffs, and that's a hit. Candelas has it. Station to station goes Japan with a pair of singles. And a good start in front of the home crowd.
This is a pretty good piece of hitting. That's a hanging breaking ball that Kikuchi didn't try to pull. He goes the other way and lines it into right. You can see by his approach, he was thinking right side of the diamond for that entire at bat.
That leg kick and the knee coming out and then swinging around is kind of a trademark of a lot of these Japanese hitters, especially the right-handed bats. Todd Tichenor stepped out. He doesn't seem real happy right now.
Well, the third base coach stepped into fair territory to look back in the dugout and get the sign from the manager.
Yeah, and that is a no-no universally in baseball, because that gives a base coach a view of the catcher's signs, and umpires are very much aware of that as well.
Onishi, the third base coach from the Yomiuri Giants, that time wasn't quite as aggressive. Stayed behind the foul line.
Nori Aoki, if you're a major league fan, you know his work. He's had a real nice run in the big leagues. And he bounces one slowly towards second. Barraford goes to first. And Australia gets an out, but Japan has 2 runners in scoring position with just 1 out. And the big man, and I mean big man, Yoshitomo Tsutsugo comes up.
Tsutsugo, 44 home runs a year ago, and this was in the 7th inning on a 3-1 pitch. He had a great at bat, was taking some borderline pitches, and he drills that into the seats. Picks up his second and third RBIs of the night. He finished up the night with a 2-hit night, drove in the first run of the ball game with an RBI single in the first.
One of the bright young stars of the Japanese leagues, 25 years old, plays for Yokohama, the Bay Stars, and a huge season last year in which his OPS was 4 digits, 1,100 OPS, 322 average, 430 on base, and a 680 slugging percentage, 44 home runs. Atherton, this is with a fastball. First base is open. You've got Sho Nakata on deck.
John Debo, the manager of Australia, believes that Tsutsugo is the best hitter in this pool. He's scouted him a lot. He has a lot of respect for this guy, and they might not give him much to hit with a base open at first.
Infield is back. Which might be another indication that they are pitching around him.
Yeah, they've got Sho Nakata, right-handed hitter, on deck. He's a powerful hitter, but at the same time, the strength of this Australian team is pitching and defense, and they might pitch around Tsutsugo.
Wow, that one right down the middle. Whether that was a mistake or by design, it's hard to tell after the first 3 that missed. I don't think you want to go there again with Tsutsugo, who blasted one up into the seats in right center. A big blow against Cuba last night. Big breaking ball and a great pitch.
Went with the breaking ball, dropped it in on the outside corner.
All right, Buck, where do you go now? 3-2.
I would try to get the fastball inside to him. I think he is thinking about out over the plate. He's got terrific power to all parts of the ballpark, but if you're going to miss off the plate inside.
Fastball got him. He wasn't looking fastball. Tsutsugo was late after that slow breaking ball. That's an enormous strikeout for Atherton.
This fastball's 90 miles an hour, and you're right, Rich. He was late. He was expecting something off speed, and that fastball beats him. A huge strikeout for Atherton. And we mentioned his fastball's getting better and better as he gets further and further away from that shoulder surgery.
All right, now Nakata, the 27-year-old, who is an RBI machine in NPB, Nippon Professional Baseball. And he's up in an RBI spot. 3 consecutive seasons where he's knocked in over 100. And remember, the Japanese regular season is only 143 games right now.
Nakata is a run producer. He's a two-time RBI champ. Won the title in 14 and again in 2016.
Breaking ball, it's fair. Long throw for Welch, and he got him. How about that? Stephen Welch to Luke Hughes across the diamond, and Atherton escapes in the first. Japan and Australia here. Second night, Pool B, first round. Japan 1-0, Australia's debut. Tomoyuki Sugano on the hill for Japan. Here's the Australia lineup. David Candelas is in right field. James Barraford is at second. Luke Hughes at first. Mitchell Denning in center. Tim Kennelly in left field. Stephen Welch at third base. Alan De San Miguel. Trent Olja in the DH. And Brad Harmon hits ninth in the shortstop. First pitch, fastball from Sugano. Zips in at 92 miles an hour.
Sugano is the ace for the Yomiuri Giants. 26 games a year ago, 9-6 with a very good ERA, just over 2. The Australians have scouted Sugano, and they know that he can strike out a lot of hitters. He doesn't walk many, just 26 walks, and with that, Australia's looking for fastballs. He's got a forkball, but they expect him to challenge these hitters with a fastball.
Candelas misses. What's your scouting report on the right-hander?
Sugano's got all the pitches, fastball, curveball, cutter, and a forkball, but he wants outs, quick outs, 27 pitches, 27 outs. That'd be his ideal game, and he is a fan of Roy Halladay and Greg Maddux. They're worth the way they pound the strike zone, and he too likes quick resolutions to at-bats.
David Candelas, one of the many Australian players who played in the minor leagues. He signed with Colorado in 2008, got to AAA in 2014. Fastball jammed him. Kikuchi. And an out here in the first. Japan was very good defensively last night, and that's no surprise.
Well, the big sluggers in left field, Satsugo and Nori Aoki, had a terrific game defensively in center. Suzuki's got a strong arm in right. Matsuda, Sakamoto, Kikuchi, the great double play combination up the middle. Sho Nakata, a two-time Golden Glove winner at first base, and Seiichi Kobayashi, a very good defensive catcher behind the plate.
This is James Barraford, the 28-year-old, and Barraford laces a single into left field, and Australia has a base runner. Barraford, a Minnesota Twins minor leaguer.
Finally made it to the majors last September with the Twins, spent 10 years in the minor leagues, and we mentioned Australia's looking for first pitch fastballs from Sugano, and Barraford didn't waste any time slapping it through the 5-6 hole for a base hit.
Yeah, 10 games, 5 for 22 as a big leaguer. So Barraford's out at first base. And here's Luke Hughes. You got Mitchell Denning behind him. Hughes, another guy that signed with the Twins, and another guy that got to the big leagues with the Twins, of 10 years in the minors, parts of 3 seasons with the Minnesota Twins, and had a great start to his major league career facing Max Scherzer.
In his first major league at bat, he took Scherzer deep, one of 8 big league home runs that Hughes has hit.
Hughes drives that to right center field, hits it well. Aoki on patrol makes the catch at the track.
Hughes hit it well, but it kind of hung up. Might have hit it toward the end of the bat. He's got big power, and again, the Australians looking fastball. They believe that Sugano's going to continue to be aggressive and pound that strike zone, so they're going up there hacking.
Now Mitchell Denning is the hitter. He had a really nice ovation during the introductions because he's played in Japan with the Yakult Swallows in 2015 after 5 minor league seasons with the Boston Red Sox. He's 28. And he takes inside.
One of the big problems for these young players that come out of Australia is they don't play enough games and they go right into professional baseball before they really have the training to allow them to succeed in minor league ball and make it to the majors. John Debo believes that they should really think more about playing college baseball in the States to allow their skills to really develop and then go into professional ball. But they're big, they're physical, they're talented, but they just haven't had enough repetitions playing ball to really capitalize on all their physical skills.
And there's John Diebel in that left corner on that shot. And he told us yesterday there's actually been a shift in how they're working with young players, the 17, 18, 19-year-old players in Australia. Good sharp slider for a strike, and it's 2-1. And that is get them to junior colleges, get them to colleges in the United States. They've taken a group of their best prospects to a lot of those college showcases to let scouts and college coaches see them. And if they're in the college game, they get 3-4 years of lots of at-bats, lots of game experience. And then they have a better chance of sticking in the minor leagues and succeeding and getting to the major leagues. And I think Denning's one of those guys he talked about that, you know, if he had 3 or 4 years of college ball before he started his minor league career, his chances at success would have been better. Denning gets a ground ball out towards second. Kikuchi onto first in time. Base runners for both teams, but no runs in the first. Scoreless start here. Second game for Japan and the debut for Australia. Pitching rules just to get you up to speed. Round 1, 65 pitches is the limit for starters or relievers. And rest restrictions, you go over 50, you're done for the round. And if you throw more than 30, you need at least a day off. 2 days in a row. And you cannot pitch 3 days consecutively. And because of not playing yesterday, Australia will play 3 days in a row. And so that means John Diebel has to be a little delicate with how he uses relievers. Here tonight, taking on Japan. And Tim Atherton misses outside. It's 2-0. This is Sakamoto, the shortstop, who has showed that he's a much more complete offensive player than when we saw him last in the 2013 World Baseball Classic.
A couple of doubles in game 1. He finished up 2 for 4 in that game. Very good defender. Thing about Sakamoto is a Golden Glove shortstop, and now the bat has come around to match his defensive skills, and he's a all-around good ball player. Real threat at the plate now.
Starting to look a lot like a guy you know, and that's Troy Tulowitzki, a premium offensive player and defensive players. That one's over the screen and out of play. And Sakamoto last year hit .344. That was the best in the league. Had a .433 on base. That was the best in the league. He only slugged .555. 28 doubles, 23 homers. That is impressive.
28 years old, right in the prime of his career. This is his home team ballpark. Plays for the Yomiuri Giants. Made his debut as a teenager, 19 years old, starting for the Giants. And there's that logo, Yomiuri Giants, and a Sakamoto lion.
It's a foul tip and he stays alive. The fact that he's a shortstop is somewhat of an accident, because as a kid he threw left-handed, but the only glove he could really get his hands on was his brother's, and his brother's was right-handed. And so once he started playing catch with his brothers, he started to throw right-handed. And he guides a ground ball out to short. Brad Harmon is a very good defender out at shortstop for Australia. And he makes the play.
And we mentioned the strength of this team is their infield defense in particular. Pitching and defense is the theme of this team. They have really thrown the ball well and played very good defensively in the lead up to this tournament.
I'll tell you what the theme is right now for Tim Atherton, and that is pitch count. 24 pitches. Remember, he gets 65, and that's it. And so a 17-pitch first inning. Australia would like to see some low pitch innings here to try to get him towards that 5th or 6th inning, and that one is up and in to Seiya Suzuki, the right fielder.
Got away from that curveball and just sailed it over Suzuki's helmet. He's just 22 years old, a real power hitter in right field. He was 0 for 3 in the opener of this tournament. 29 home runs a year ago during the regular season and a .335 average. This is a very balanced and deep lineup.
Hiroshima Carp. And the count 3-0.
Atherton's cutting off that breaking ball, both the curveball and the slider. He's not getting good extension, and because of that, he's steering it into the dirt.
Had to be reassuring for him to have a good season in the Australian League, which is a winter league, because he was going into a free agent year. He had started his minor league career with the Twins, and then with Oakland had a nice run. But the shoulder injury forced surgery, and if you're a casual follower of baseball, a shoulder injury to a pitcher can be a lot worse and a lot tougher road back than an elbow injury and Tommy John surgery. That one's going to float out to left and run down by Harmon. And so the second out for Atherton. And so the fact, Buck, that he had the surgery, he missed a season and a half, but he bounced back with a really good winter league season is encouraging to a guy that wants to get back into professional baseball.
Well, he's 27 years old, so certainly he has a lot of life left in his baseball career, and this is a great platform to showcase your skills. You know, there are probably 35 or 40 major league scouts in attendance in this tournament, and they're watching for any kind of diamond in the rough they might be able to sign. And of course, Team Australia has one in Peter Moylan, who signed after the 2006 World Baseball Classic. Matsuda called for the swing on that fastball up and in. He commits. He's got that exaggerated leg kick, starts the swing, and is called for going around by the home plate umpire, Corey Blazer.
And it looks like early on that Atherton's not afraid to pitch inside. Matsuda, and that ball's going to land in the excite seats. Counts 0-2. Nobuhiro Matsuda, big last night. 4 for 5, a 3-run homer. He scored 3 runs. He knocked in 4, and he knocked out all the doubt about this team offensively and himself personally. In the little exhibition run that Team Japan had, he did not have a good run offensively, and nor did his ball club. That is on the outside corner. Atherton dots it and gets the strikeout. There's your quick pitch inning, a 1-2-3 seconds. And here in Tokyo, Australia making their debut, scoreless with Japan. '17 World Baseball Classic. It's the first rounds. Just to remind you, first round action here in Tokyo, in Seoul, Miami, and in Mexico. Second round here in Tokyo and San Diego. 4 teams advanced to Los Angeles. We kind of went through the pitch count and the limits, and that ball goes right through the glove of Sakamoto. That's how hard that ball was hit by Tim Kennelly. It's going to be an E6.
Another first pitch fastball. Kennelly's all over it, drills it to the shortstop, and Matsuda got handcuffed, or excuse me, Sakamoto got handcuffed by that line drive. Australia came in here anticipating they're going to get a lot of first pitch fastballs from Sugano, and so far that's been the case. Right. Just late reacting to that ball off the bat of Canelli.
So Australia has a leadoff runner on here, Stephen Welch. And Welch takes in. Now Welch, another guy who has professional experience. Signed with the Mets at 16, spent 8 years in the minors. Also with the Pirates and the Boston Red Sox. There's a breaking ball, and he's another example of a guy that at 16 was right into the minors, where what Australia would like to do is maybe steer some of these guys into college baseball and give them at bats and experience and maybe a couple more years of growth before they take aim at the major leagues. 6'3", 190. To right, but he pulled it foul.
Well, when you think about it and you're a young kid playing in Australia, you say, well, I'm the best of anybody I've played against. You say, okay, well, I'm going to sign a professional contract. And then you get into pro ball and you find out there's 17-year-old Dominicans, 17-year-old Puerto Ricans, 17-year-old Venezuelans, and all the kids from North America. And all of a sudden, you're a very small fish in a big pool. And I think Australia has the right approach. Give these kids a chance to develop and maybe play more college baseball, and then have a fighting chance once you get into pro ball.
Up the middle, looks like two. Sakamoto from Kikuchi. And that's exactly what Sugano needed and wanted. And that erases the error by Sakamoto.
Yeah, Sakamoto is pleased to get that opportunity after committing that error to start the inning. It's a great double play combination, and Kikuchi starts it. Good feed to Sakamoto. He's got a terrific arm, come across the bag and threw a strike to first.
Alan de San Miguel is the catcher for Australia. De San Miguel out of Perth is 29. Takes a breaking ball for a strike. There's another one of the Australian players who signed with the Twins. Minnesota had an Australian pipeline in the 2000 years, 2004, mid-2000s. And De San Miguel spent 11 years in the minor leagues. In his last 7 seasons, he's been in the ABL. Now, the ABL is a winter league, so you can play in the summer. You can go back home and play in the winter. Much like in Cuba, their professional baseball season is essentially in just about everybody else's off season.
He also played in 2 levels last year with the Royals in the minor leagues. He spent time in Double-A at Northwest Arkansas and got into 10 games at Triple-A Omaha playing for the Royals.
Pops that one to right, and it's deep. Suzuki back at the wall. He leaps, and it's gone. He hit it out. Much to his surprise, he doesn't believe it. De San Miguel finally trots towards third, and Australia has the first run.
An opposite field home run. De San Miguel hit 31 home runs in 11 minor league seasons, and here he gives Australia a 1-0 lead. This team has really struggled to score runs in their lead-up games to this tournament, and what a swing for De San Miguel. A big home run has stunned this crowd here at Tokyo Dome. It was a hanging curveball, stayed out over the plate, and absolutely crushed it. You can see he's a big guy. He's got some pop.
And I don't think he was watching it, because he stopped, dead stopped at second, and was sure that it was a double and that the ball was rolling around in the outfield somewhere.
Ball stays up in the zone. It's a high curveball. He stays with it. He knows he hit it hard. He was surprised when it went out of the ballpark. Suzuki jumps, but it's into the first row of seats in right.
All right, here's a look. He's not sure.
That's awesome. He said it went out, and I'll take it. And Australia has a 1-0 lead.
Trent Olchen is the hitter, and Olchen fouls it back. Australia's had some good swings. You think about the line drive by Kennelly. Even Welch's double play was hit hard, and now DeSan Miguel with a solo homer. Olchen is the DH in the 8th spot, and the 34-year-old out of Sydney, who was kind of almost a player-coach type guy, but adds some pop. He played on that historic Olympic team. And a chopper to first, Sho Nakata to the bag. Crowd in a little bit of disbelief, and DeSan Miguel might be as well. The big catcher drives one to right, and Australia has a 1-0 lead. Alan DeSan Miguel, the Australian catcher, homers to the opposite field on a breaking ball. That's an impressive feat. And it's Australia who has the first run tonight. Into the 3rd. In the bottom of the order, Seiji Kobayashi, the catcher, who had a real nice night last night behind the plate. And with the bat, he was 2 for 3, drove in a run, had a sacrifice bunt.
Now this is where Atherton really has to be aggressive. The number 9 hitter hit 200 during the regular season, and you've got to get an out here.
Get it out and keep your pitch count down. As we remind you, it's the first round of the World Baseball Classic. 65 is the pitch limit. Atherton, one of the best arms that Australia has. They would like to get as many outs out of him before he gets to 65, but he's thrown 35 pitches already.
Australia has a little more depth in their pitching staff than you might expect. Travis Blackley, who has pitched in the big leagues, and Oric Sappo will both start in this series, and they've got some arms down in their bullpen. Most notably Peter Moreland, of course, who has pitched in the majors. Graham Lloyd, the left-handed reliever that won 2 World Series with the Yankees, is the bullpen coach, and he's confident they've got some arms down in that bullpen that can stretch this game out for them.
Graham Lloyd, of all the Aussies that got to the big leagues in terms of World Series rings and accomplishments on the field, a guy that accomplished an awful lot in his major league career. 31 Australians got to the major leagues. Now we can't show him in the bullpen because remember, the bullpen is not in sight. Liner up the middle on a hop. Barraford to first in time to get the catcher Kobayashi. But here's the great thing about the bullpen. It's underneath the stands, and the relief pitchers are all huddled around the television. They're watching the game.
Yeah, that's a very strange situation for relievers. They can't see the field, so they have to watch the game on television, and you can see everybody's huddled around that TV now as they have a 1-0 lead over Japan.
But importantly, the manager can watch the relievers, which is as a former manager yourself, you know how important that is. Top of the order now. Here's Yamada. Atherton has not hesitated to throw inside to this Japanese lineup. Yamada singled in the first. Kikuchi, who's on deck, also singled. It looked like Japan was rolling, and Atherton got out of it. To left, it hangs up, and Kennelly is there, and he makes the catch.
Well, this is the part of managing the lineup that's very important for Atherton. We mentioned the leadoff man, the number 9 hitter. You get him out, and then he's able to get Yamada on a weak fly ball to left field, and all of a sudden he's got prospects of a low pitch count inning.
He's thrown 8 pitches here in this inning. And here's Kikuchi. Ryosuke 3 for 5 in the WBC.
Atherton's been impressive. He's finishing off that fastball very effectively, driving it to the outside corner. He'll get the attention of these scouts the way he has thrown so far in this game.
Out to second, Barriford there, and a very nice and tidy 1-2-3 for Atherton. Pitch count is slowing down, and that's good news for Australia. Tokyo Dome, sites of the World Baseball Classic. First two rounds are here in the iconic home of the Yomiuri Giants. Rich Waltz, Buck Martinez. Australia has scored first, bottom of the third. Tomoyuki Sugano, who was a dominant pitcher and has been over here in Japan, gave up a solo home run to Alan De San Miguel, the Australian catcher. He's working on shortstop Brad Harmon, the 31-year-old. David Candelas and James Barriford will follow 9-1-2 in the Australian order, and Harmon swings through a fastball. It's 1-2.
We had mentioned Sugano is a big fan of watching Greg Maddux and Roy Halladay, of course, two terrific pitchers, and he has taken a little bit out of their book in that he's working very quickly, something that doesn't happen traditionally from Japanese pitchers. Throwing a lot of strikes and working quickly.
John Diebel is the skipper for Australia. When we went through our coaches meetings and he knew that Tomoyuki Sugano was going to pitch, he had some interesting things to say about that. I think he liked that.
Well, he's got a very interesting baseball resume. He was a Red Sox first base coach. He's been the Red Sox Pacific Rim scout for 14 years, and he knows all about Japanese baseball. And he said, you know, I think this is a good matchup for my team because Sugano does have a forkball, but he doesn't use it often. And so far, Australia has taken advantage of that aggressive approach from Sugano.
Nakata catches the pop-up off of the bat of Candelas. You know, the other thing about Diebel, and you saw that resume, and he's done a lot of things with Australian baseball. Some of his best work was as a scout with the Boston Red Sox. When the Red Sox in the mid-2000s won a couple of World Series, one of the things that they did well was get arms and players from around the globe, not just from the Dominican, the United States, places like that. And as the head of scouting, foreign scouting, Diebel and Craig Shipley, who's his bench coach, just incredible contributions to the Red Sox organization. Nice play by Sugano. That's a 1-2-3 inning. Sugano's thrown just 33 pitches in his 3 innings. And Australia, a 1-0 lead. Into the fourth, 1-0 Australia here in Tokyo. There's Craig Shipley. We talked about him. He's the bench coach. You talk about the 31 Australians that have been to the major leagues. Well, Shipley was really the pioneer. Went to the University of Alabama, and then an 11-year career in the major leagues. And he knows Japanese baseball very, very well. He and John Diebel have been scouting all over the world, and they paid a particular attention to Japan when they were helping build those powerhouse Red Sox teams. Bouncer, and getting over there in time is Tim Atherton on the flip from Hughes.
Shipley's a great example of exactly what John Diebel was talking about as a young player. He went to the University of Alabama to play baseball, so he was able to gain experience as a young player, and he's been able to turn that into 11 years in the major leagues. Started out with the Dodgers in '86, came up with them and played in '89 with the Mets, just 4 games, but spent the majority of his career with the San Diego Padres from '91 all the way through '94, and had a big impact in 1993 when he got into 105 games.
All right, Atherton now dueling Tsutsugo for the second time. He got Aoki to bounce out. Tsutsugo, who had the blast in last night's ball game, had a couple of hits. Shoots that one to short. Harmon on to first. And the innings are starting to go quicker now for Atherton. Fewer pitches, which is good. All right, let's explore Japan. Highest point, Mount Fuji. It's a lot of islands. Very healthy here. And Buck, you can attest to that. You've been enjoying the cuisine.
Absolutely. That last shrine you saw was Miyajima Island, the island of the shrine, and we visited that before the start of this tournament. Down near Hiroshima.
And now I know why your teammates used to call you the tour guide. Because this is our second time here together in Japan, and you've been just about every place.
Well, you know, Rich, we're fortunate to travel so much with baseball, and why not take advantage of that?
I'm with you. Sho Nakata has bounced out. 48 pitches now for Tim Atherton, and that's important. Australia would like to ride him as long as they can, and they've got 65 pitches with which to do it. Atherton threw 32 pitches in his first 2 innings. And as I noted, that pace in terms of the number of pitches has started to slow down, which is good news.
Well, and the thing about it is he's been able to locate his fastball, and that really has allowed him to pitch ahead. And we talked about the velocity on his fastball could be a problem for this lineup. Another fastball jams Nakata.
And a good pitch. Candelas is there, and he makes the catch. And Atherton has 4 shutout innings with some pitches left to go in a 1-0 Australian start. Our tour guide, Buck Martinez, has yet to go to Australia. We got to get you down there. 23 million the population. Sydney's a great place. Everyone loves that opera house. Even Nemo liked it in Australia.
Yeah, it's on the bucket list for sure. It's a terrific country, and I'm dying to get there. Next year, we'll cross it off.
Got some Australian flavor here in Tokyo. Luke Hughes, Mitchell Denning. Hit hard and into left field, a base hit, and Hughes has the 3rd hit for the Australians.
Again, another fastball. And Hughes hit a ball deep to center field his first time up. And Sugano continues to try to get the fastballs by this Australian team. And I know they only have 3 hits, but they've been on the fastball throughout the early stages of this game.
Yeah, I mean, Sugano certainly is the highly decorated starter of this pair, but Atherton, coming off that shoulder injury, has been the best tonight, especially after he gave up the 2 hits. He's retired 12 straight Japanese hitters. And here is Denning now. And he hits it off the end of the bat, slowly hit out towards second. And the shovel by Kikuchi is just in time. And Denning is out, but Luke Hughes, importantly for Australia, is in scoring position.
Yeah, it works like a sacrifice bunt, of course. Kikuchi did a good job of breaking quickly on that swinging bunt. Once it got past the pitcher, he was the only guy that was going to make a play on it. Sugano's a terrific fielder, a Golden Glove winner as a pitcher. He made a good play to end the bottom of the 3rd inning.
Does Mizuno sponsor that? I mean, Rawlings sponsors the Gold Glove. Mizuno is the great glove maker here in Japan.
Not sure.
We'll get our researchers on that. That's why we hire a whole squadron of them. Kennelly now, and he takes in the left fielder for Australia.
He had a line shot off the glove of Sakamoto for an error to start the 2nd inning, but was erased on a double play ball. shocked me. He was all over it. Just a line shot that handcuffed the shortstop.
Catches the inside corner. Now Kennelly, another guy that has extensive experience in the minor leagues. Played a lot of positions in the Phillies organization. And some feel that he's part of the first family of Australian baseball. He's got 3 brothers who also play. One that now manages in the Australian Baseball League. And that fastball foul back to the screen. Opportunity here certainly for Australia. They've got Kennelly and Welch.
Australia's only had 1 win in the World Baseball Classic. That came in the opening game, round 1, 2009. They beat Mexico 17-7. So their record in the Classic is 1-8.
See what he gets here, 1-2. See Kobayashi set up out. And he hit the glove, but he was set up out. And you could see Corey Blazer waving to Sugano, who wanted that pitch, and showing him it was off the plate, and it was.
Yeah, a little cutter just sailed off the plate.
And remember, the camera view here is an off-center look. The center field camera is not dead center, so you don't get a true look at what's inside and outside. And that pitch was well outside. 2-2. That one pulled foul, wide of third. All right, Australian baseball. Who's your favorite Australian baseball player?
My favorite Australian baseball player. Well, I had Luke Prokopec, who pitched for me when I managed the Blue Jays. He came over in a trade from the Dodgers. But my favorite all time is Grant Belfoy. I love his enthusiasm. I love the way he goes after it. And of course, he had some great seasons pitching as a closer and closing out games. He had a 41 save season, or 38 save season for Oakland in 2013. He was part of those great Tampa Bay teams that got the World Series in 2008. And he is a very proud Aussie. His career, he pitched in 20 playoff games. He too started with the Minnesota Twins.
That's strike 3 called. And a big strikeout for Sugano.
Kennelly got away from his Scotty report. They were looking for fastballs. He kind of got beat by this inside fastball. After laying off the breaking ball away, he catches the inside corner. Sugano does with that fastball.
Here is Welch now, my favorite Australian. Now that 31 number is for guys that were born there. There are some Australian players that weren't born in Australia that were of Australian descent and raised there. And my guy is Chris Snelling. Left-handed bat, could really hit, but he just couldn't stay healthy to stay in the big leagues. That one popped foul and out of play. I know he's an obscure name, and many of you don't know Chris Snelling. But when I watched him come up in the Seattle organization and get to the Mariners, he could absolutely mash. But he just couldn't stay healthy. Had knee injuries.
Well, Glenn Williams is one of the officials with Team Australia. He's traveling with the team, and he's got a lot to do with the development program in Australia. Liam Hendricks, hard-throwing reliever who's currently with Oakland, who's also contemplating joining Team Australia. Travis Blackley is on this team, left-handed pitcher, and he'll probably start later on in this series.
Welch, a hard shot that ended up a double play in the second. Luke Hughes is still out at second. Japanese outfield, very good on base hits with runners at second. Traditionally excellent at charging, quick release, strong arms. There's a liner down the right field line, but it's foul.
That's another aspect that John Debo understands. He said, you know what, they're tough to score on a base hit with a man at second base because they close so quickly on the grounders, and the middle infielders for Japan, they go out. So that first throw from the outfielder is the shorter of the two throws, and they trust their middle infielders to utilize their strong, accurate arms to make the throws to the plate.
1-2 to Stephen Welch. Sugano approaching 50 pitches. And that fastball rides high. And it's 2-2. There's the breakdown. Remember, Buck told you early, Sugano doesn't walk a lot of hitters. He made 26 starts last year and walked 26 batters. Two. Got in on him, and he fights it off and stays alive.
Kobayashi, the catcher, really set up inside, and Welch gets jammed and hits that ball right off his right leg. Kobayashi, he may be moving a little bit too early with the runner at second base, and Luke Hughes, he's been out there a long time, but watch how early he sets up. Certainly gives the base runner at second an opportunity to relay location right there.
In the dirt, he buries it and strikes out Welch. Australia leaves a runner in scoring position. 4 complete, 1-0 Australia. Let's go back to 2009 in the World Baseball Classic, Dodger Stadium. This is the championship round in the semifinal game against the U.S. and Japan. Beat the U.S. and beat them soundly, Buck Martinez.
9-4, and you can see Roy Oswalt gets knocked out of the game, and Yu Darvish closes it out. Munenori Kawasaki was on the team. Ichiro, of course. Iwakuma, lots of great major leaguers at that time. That's Daisuke Matsuzaka, who was also on that team, and they had quite a run in 2009. Back-to-back WBC championships for Team Japan.
Speaking of runs, Tim Atherton is on one right now. He's retired 12 straight. Hayata Sakamoto, Seiya Suzuki, Nobuhiro Matsuda.
Atherton's done a terrific job. You mentioned 12 straight, and first 2 batters with base hits to start the game, and he never wavered. Just kept making quality pitches, 53 pitches here, starting the 5th.
Remember the pitch count total for the first round. The limit is 65. And I'm sure John Diebel is hoping that Atherton has a quick inning here and he gets a little bit out of him. But that one is shot into left field. Canelli over to get it. Sakamoto to second, and he is in there.
Well, they had a shot at Sakamoto if the throw is on line, but it was to the outfield side. It's a hanging breaking ball up in the zone, and Sakamoto gets another extra base hit. Pulls it down into the corner, and Tim Canelli, by the time he sets his feet, strong throw, but it's offline, and Sakamoto slides in with a leadoff double here in the 5th.
All right, let's see how Japan plays this. We saw them play little ball a lot last night. Hiroki Kokubo, their manager, and their number 9 hitter, the catcher bunting. This is Seiya Suzuki. He's got a lot more pop than Kobayashi. And a breaking ball misses in.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to have him bunting. He's an RBI guy. Suzuki drove in 95, and the guy behind him, Matsuda, had the 4-hit game last night. Looks like they might be contemplating a possible pinch hitter for the catcher, Kobayashi.
He's 3 hitters away. That pitch is up from Atherton. course, the double snaps that run of 12 consecutive retired. It gets the crowd back into this ball game, as if they need any encouragement. Remember, Atherton was in trouble in the first. Japan came out with a pair of singles, first and second, and nobody out, but he got out of the inning. He got some help from Stefan Welch and a nice play at third with 2 outs. Roller up the middle. That's trouble. Knocked down. A base hit for Suzuki. Sakamoto stops at third. And now Japan is poised to get on the scoreboard.
One thing you see from Team Japan is they all have good team at bats. And even though Suzuki's a power hitter, drove in 95. Watch this approach. He's just trying to move the runner from second to third. Beresford does a nice job of keeping the ball on the infield to keep Sakamoto from scoring. But the Japanese approach is a very team-oriented approach, even though Suzuki is a power hitter.
And at 57 pitches, Atherton has hit the end of the road. John Diebel comes to get him. Japan at the corners and nobody out. Tim Atherton trying to come back from shoulder surgery. Looked good here tonight. 27-year-old. Got to the 5th, but Japan now with a double by Sakamoto and the infield hit by Suzuki, and it's going to prompt Australia to go to their bullpen. Lachlan Wells, look at the ERA he had in Single-A in Cedar Rapids.
63 strikeouts in 71 1/3 in the Midwest League, and a strikeout is exactly what they're looking for here.
Middle infield's playing for 2. Check swing.
In this tournament, you're going to see a lot of managers in these types of situations trying to protect the lead, bring in a new pitcher so the batter doesn't see the same pitcher for a second consecutive at bat. So Matsuda, coming off a 4-hit game, has to look at a pitcher he's not seen before. Good move by Diebel.
Wells is not a big guy. 5'8". To left, deep enough to score the run. Sakamoto tags, and he will score. And the game is tied. Holding first is Suzuki. And Matsuda, who had the big night last night, delivers tonight.
Matsuda ties it up. He had a 4 RBI game in game 1, and he hits it deep to left to cash in Sakamoto, who started the inning off with the leadoff double.
Now here's Kobayashi, the catcher, who has bounced out. 1 out. And you've got Suzuki, the runner at first. And it looks like a bunt. Wells is going to make sure by going over to first.
Yeah, we saw Kobayashi bunt last night. He attempted a bunt with 1 out in the 4th inning, fouled off a couple of pitches, and eventually came up with a 2-strike base hit.
That pitch dips low.
He had a sac bunt in the game in the 4th inning. That bunt attempt in his first at bat was with 1 out in the 2nd inning. He had 19 sacrifice bunts during the regular season last year.
Cedar Rapids is a stop on the Minnesota Twins minor league ladder. The Cedar Rapids Colonels. And that's not a military term. I think that's a corn reference. Wells gathers it, gets the out.
So that's the way Team Japan will play with their number 9 hitter Kobayashi. Has to bunt with 1 out, move a runner into scoring position. Turn the lineup over. You got a big potent bat in the leadoff spot in Yamada.
Well, for John Diebel, this certainly wasn't a lefty versus lefty move to make with Wells, because he's seen some right-handed bats. 2 real good ones in Matsuda and Yamada now, who is singled and lined to left.
I think the biggest reason that Nebo went to Wells when he did, as we mentioned, Matsuda, although he delivered the sac fly, would have had a second look at the starter, and this would have been the 3rd time Yamada had seen him, so they're giving him a different look.
Buck, I hear Major League hitting coaches throughout the big leagues talk to hitters who have that big leg kick, and they say, get your foot down early. The Japanese hitters do not do that.
No,
I mean, they get down late. How do they still have success?
Well, they stay balanced, and you can see, and we have seen this with their pitchers as well, how they will rock and just balance. Looked like he went after that pitch, and
he did.
Indeed, Todd Tishner down at first on the appeal calls him for a swing. But Yamada's able to stay balanced over that back foot and not really commit, but that time Wells got him to chase. Wells got a good fastball. We've seen him hit 91.
Well, Yamada is one of the most exciting players over here in Japan. Scouts are very excited about him. 24 years old, great power and speed. And he fouls that one straight back.
Here's the leg kick once again, and it's very exaggerated. Gets it up about waist high and then gets it down that time. Got the barrel out and fouled it straight back. Of course, no one had a more pronounced leg kick than the great Sadaharu Oh, all-time home run leader.
He turned out okay.
Yeah, it worked for him.
Pop up right center. Denning is in. Look out. And it's Mitch Denning that makes the catch. Japan is on the board, but this ball game all tied up. 1-1 ball game, Japan and Australia. Halfway through, or so it seems, in the Tokyo Dome. Another 45,000 are here to see this essentially all-star team from the Japanese leagues. And this is the guy that had the most surprising swing of the ball game. Alan D. San Miguel, Australian catcher, and he's not getting anything on the outside part. And that's where Sugano left a breaking ball, and D. San Miguel hit it out to right, though he didn't even believe it because he stopped at second base.
Yeah, we can say it was surprising because D. San Miguel himself stopped at second, didn't realize the ball had gone out of the ballpark, thought it was off the wall.
It sounded like it hit him, and it did. He didn't swing at it.
San Miguel with a long look out to Sugano.
You know, and he's got a little smile on his face. As you pointed out, he hasn't hit a lot of home runs in his career, so he's probably not thinking that Sugano's coming in because he hit a homer, right? I mean, that's never happened.
Well, you know what? A lot of pitchers, when guys that don't hit much get hits off of them, they say, you know what, you got no business hitting me. The great Nolan Ryan used to do that all the time. Craig Graybeck, the diminutive infielder for the White Sox, got a hit off of him, and the next time up, Nolan drilled him and said, hey, man, you can't be swinging at me like that.
I was a Craig Graybeck fan growing up.
I would imagine you would be.
I patterned my game after him.
He was a good player.
Yes, he was. All right, here's Trent Oltgen, and you've got D. San Miguel at first now. And the pitch is outside. Now remember, pitch count and the cap in the first round is 65 pitches, so Japan's bullpen, hidden from our view, is probably in motion right now, or at least starting to. That one fouled back by Olchen.
Olchen's played 3 years in the majors, parts of 3 seasons, a total of 99 games, and he's got 5 big league home runs, and he is kind of like you said, the senior citizen on this team. He's got big league experience. He's now 34 years old, and he has had many opportunities to represent Australia in World Baseball tournaments.
All right, here's the hidden bullpen. Do you think that would fly in Major League Baseball, bullpens that were hidden from view? I mean, it saves in terms of footprint for the stadium.
Right. And now they're more concerned about the fans getting close to the action. I don't think we'll see it anytime soon. That's part of the experience of going to a Major League ballpark, watching those bullpens get to work.
That one is drilled, but foul. As Olchen really turned on it. That's the type of power that he has. It's always a, and look, real estate in Tokyo, all you have to do is stay in a hotel room to know that real estate in Tokyo is precious. And so they save in terms of footprint in the stadium by putting those bullpens back behind the dugouts. That one fouled back to the screen.
Olchen really got jammed on that inside fastball, and Sugano, you can see his pedigree. He's got quality pitches, and he's one of the better pitchers in Japan. Certainly the ace of the team that plays here in this stadium, the Yomiuri Giants. He just missed winning their version of the Cy Young Award for the past season.
That one up into the seats. A reminder, this copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the World Baseball Classic may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the World Baseball Classic. Hey, by the way, it just dawned on me, we're talking about bullpens. Wrigley Field next year, aren't the bullpens going under the bleachers? They're taking the bullpens out from the baselines and putting them under the bleachers.
That'll be the first situation where they'll be out of sight.
I haven't seen the exact plans, but from what I remember in reading, that it's part of that overall ballpark renovation.
Boy, they've done a terrific job, and I don't know if you've been in the Cubs clubhouse, but I got a chance to see it during the World Series, and what a terrific change for the home team. And the visitors clubhouse is going to be done, I believe, not this year, maybe next year.
I think there'll be a small hole where they can watch the games because you can't take the ivy off the wall completely. Olchen strikes out, and that's a big out for Sugano, who's getting closer to that 65. And now Brad Harmon, the Australian shortstop, comes to the plate. Now Harmon is not a great hitter. I don't think there's any mystery around that. Harmon struggled this year in the Australian League, hit just 194. He's known for his defense, and that helped get him to the big leagues, albeit for a short stay. 10 at bats in 2008 with the Phillies, 1 for 10. He may not have had a long stay in the big leagues, but it was long enough to earn himself a World Series ring. That was 2008, the Phillies year. And yes, he got a ring. And one lifted into the seats and out of play.
Heads up for foul balls.
Sugano's mixed his pitches much more effectively here toward the end of his outing. Australia only has 3 hits, and of course the only run came on the home run by the catcher, Alan de San Miguel.
0-2 coming to Harmon, who struck out on a fastball, and that's what he was getting before time was called. One ball game, bottom 5. Australia struck first with a home run by Alan de San Miguel. He's at first after getting hit by a pitch. And the number 9 hitter, Brad Harmon, has an 0-2 coming. And that's out. Buck, you noted early that the Japanese catcher, Kobayashi, is shifting early. And anytime a catcher goes out like that, that has breaking ball written all over it.
Well, and you know, anytime you set up early, you give the hitter an opportunity maybe to take a peek back or sense where the catcher is sitting. But this time he's going to wait a little bit longer until he slides to the outside corner. Breaking ball kind of hung up out over the plate, and Harmon's able to foul it back.
How much gamesmanship is there in the World Baseball Classic?
Well, there's a lot, no question about it. And, you know, they have scouts, and the scouts for their respective teams will go to the exhibition games. They'll watch the teams, watch what they're doing. And we mentioned John Debo recognized that Sugano, over his career, although he throws a forkball, doesn't throw as many as you might expect. And he thought that would play into the favor of his hitters tonight.
He's out again, wants it down low. 1-2 comes. That was a fastball.
We saw some of that gamesmanship in the day game this afternoon with Cuba and China. The starting pitcher for China, Bruce Chen, noticed his catcher was setting up early in the at bat, and the Cuban hitter on deck in Spanish was saying inside, outside. Little did they realize that Bruce Chen, of course, who grew up in Panama, could understand what they were saying. Chen called his catcher out and said, "Hey man, you can't set up that early."
Fastball, Harmon fouls it back. I can remember in 2013 when China was playing against Cuba, and of course China relatively new to the game. A lot of the players don't had game experience. There was a China player that actually stole second on a pitch at the plate that was in the dirt, and the middle infielder for Cuba said, "Hey, that's a foul ball," and the Chinese player never thought to suspect that might not be correct, got up, said thanks, and trotted to first and was promptly tagged out.
Yeah, and that's really tough when you have an experienced team like Cuba take advantage of a very inexperienced team like Team China. That didn't set well with the manager of China, for sure.
John McLaren was not real happy. He did not want to cause an international incident, though, by drilling one of the hitters, so he let it pass. But he also let it be known to Cuba he wasn't happy, but he also told his team, hey, look, this is baseball. This is, you know, you can't fall for stuff like this. It was a great teaching point for him. This is a good at bat by Harmon, who's remember was behind the count 0-2, fought some pitches off, and has now run the count even at 2-2. And of course, he's run that pitch count right up to 65. This is the last pitch for Sugano. That one fouled to the plate. Now he can finish the at bat. He can finish the at bat, so he's at 65. But this is the last guy that he'll be allowed to face. And Harmon keeps hanging in there. Australia's going to get into the bullpen now after this hitter.
Yeah, Harmon's having a heck of an at bat for a guy that's not known for swinging the bat well. He's battled Sugano very well in this at bat.
2-2 again. That one's hit hard. Diving stop Sakamoto, and safe at second base. Terrific effort. Good hustle by the catcher, D. San Miguel, to get to second. And an outstanding at bat by Brad Harmon, and that ends the night of Tomoyuki Sugano.
Boy, what an effort by Sakamoto, the shortstop. He knocks it down and then quickly picks it up and throws, but not in time as Kikuchi had stretched. But good job by the base runner, De San Miguel, to beat it out.
Sugano is gone. Australia is threatening in a 1-1 game. The Tokyo Dome, and our game summary, bottom of the 5th. This has been a fun game. Japan and Australia 1-1. The home run by De San Miguel was a surprise. Japan rallied. Really nice start by Tim Atherton. But both starters are gone, and both teams are into the other's bullpen. And an opportunity here for Australia with runners at first and second and one out in the bottom of the 5th. The Tokyo Dome, a landmark building here. A lot has gone on athletically. Obviously, baseball, home of the Yomiuri Giants. This is Toshiya Okada, a situational lefty.
He pitched in game 1 against Cuba and came in with runners on, 2 runners on, and got a big strikeout of a pinch hitter, Jefferson Delgado, pinch hitting for the leadoff man, Roel Santos, and he got a strikeout. Okada's got a big curveball. He used that curveball down and in and try to get those hitters to chase. Sugano settled in very effectively and allowed just 4 hits in his outing.
David Candelas, the leadoff hitter, 0 for 2. His breaking ball misses up. Candelas, the 26-year-old out of Sydney, actually has a taste of baseball in Japan. He played independent ball here a little bit in 2015. Got to AAA with Colorado in 2014. Ball in the dirt, and it kicks away off the screen, and Australia now has 2 runners in scoring position with 1 out and a 2-0 count to their leadoff hitter.
Well, obviously a very big play. The wild pitch thrown by Okada takes the Aussies out of a double play situation. Kobayashi terrific in balls in the dirt, but this one he didn't try to block. He tried to catch it, and that cost him. Ball gets all the way back to the backstop. The runners move up, and that now is going to force the infield to play it in, trying to cut off a run at the plate.
And some pressure on Kobayashi as well now to block anything else that's in the dirt. You've got Beresford on deck. And a 2-0 pitch to Candelas. Fastball up, and Okada doesn't look sharp at all.
We mentioned he pitched in the 7th inning against Cuba when Cuba had scored 3 runs and they were threatening to get right back in the ball game, and Okada came in and they made a pinch hitting move, and Jefferson Delgado, big right-handed hitter, was struck out on a good curveball, but Okada doesn't look sharp at all.
3-0 pitch coming. Infield in, and it's down, and they're loaded now. And Beresford, who singled back in the 1st, is the scheduled hitter. The question is, will Okada face him? He sure didn't look sharp. There's a right-hander ready, and another one getting loose.
Yeah, Okada never really throwing anything close, and that's the pitching coach, and the pitching coach will make pitching changes. That's Hiroshi Gando, 78 years old, a former manager and a very respected pitching coach, delivering a quick message to the young lefty.
So this is certainly a big moment here, especially for Australia. Japan already has a win. This is the debut for Australia here in 2017. Beresford So this is a lefty versus lefty matchup, and Japan's going to stay with this lefty. And he bounces another one. Boy, he's missed on all 5 pitches, and regardless of lefty on lefty matchup, if you can't throw strikes, you wonder how long they'll stay with him.
Yeah, and he's not even close right now. Really cutting off his delivery and short arming the ball. He's bounced the ball back to the screen. He bounced that last pitch.
Here's a 1-0. Fastball up. And it's 2-0.
Hiroki Kokubo, the manager, now checking with the bullpen and seeing if those guys are ready, but they've certainly had plenty of time to get loose.
Now the middle infield's playing for 2. Corners are even. He's missed on 6 straight. If you're John Diebel, you've got Beresford, who's a good hitter. Do you give him the green light on 2-0? I mean, he's missed on 6 straight.
I don't think you give him the green light because he has missed so badly. I mean, you give him the green light, hitters get over anxious and will chase a borderline pitch. This guy hasn't been close to throwing a strike, so why would you give the hitter a green light? One pitch away from that situation, of course. It's now 2-0. But Beresford's got a lot of experience, played 10 years in the minor leagues for the Twins.
2-0 pitch. There's a strike, and he bounces it up the middle, and Japan turns 2. He threw 7 pitches, only 1 for a strike, and he gets 2 outs. Kikuchi to Sakamoto, and Australia's rally dies, and Beresford knew it. Boy, James Beresford kicking himself in between innings. The double play grounder, that 2-0 pitch. And we talked about it. Do you swing 2-0 if you get a pitch you think you can hit, or you just take one and go from there?
Now, you got to make him throw a strike. He wasn't even close, and you can bet Beresford is really kicking himself right now. Lefty on lefty especially. No reason at all to swing at a borderline pitch. Okada wasn't even close to throwing a strike, but they were able to get the big double play to end the inning.
How about Lachlan Wells, though, opening up the 6th with a good live fastball and striking out Ryosuke Kikuchi. And he gets a couple of lefty bats here, Nori Aoki and Yoshitomo Setsugo.
Wells came in with 2 runners on the last inning, 2 on, nobody out, gave up a sac fly to Matsuda. That tied the game, and then a sacrifice bunt, but he got out of the inning when he got Yamada to fly out to center.
Aoki fouls it back. Aoki's bounced twice to second. Wells in relief of Tim Atherton. For Australia, on our scouting report, one of the strengths, pitching, and it has shown up here tonight. It has slowed down Japan, who scored 11 runs against the Cubans last night. And that breaking ball misses away.
When you think about it, early in the season, it's easier for pitchers to get up to speed than it is for hitters. It takes more at bats to get timing down as a hitter than it does for a pitcher to gain command of his pitches. You can command the strike zone, throw a few bullpens, throw some side sessions, get some BP in, a couple of exhibition games, and you're good to go. For hitters, it's a totally different story.
Aoki lifts it to left. Kennelly is there, and he makes a catch.
2006, when I managed Team USA, we were loaded with great hitters, but they didn't have enough reps to really get their timing down. Ken Griffey Jr. and Derek Lee were basically the only 2 guys that were really swinging the bats well. Jason Varitek hit a grand slam in the loss to Team Canada. But with all the great hitters we had, the strength of our team was still the depth of our pitching.
Tsutsugo.
Is this your favorite chant?
I think so far. I think Tsutsugo's chant and song probably has the most gusto.
He plays for the Yokohama Bay Stars. He played high school baseball in Yokohama. It's his hometown, so he is a local hero and certainly has a big following here at the Tokyo Dome. Wells got a good fastball, and that's the one thing we talked about. I think that's what really worked for Tim Atherton. We saw some fastballs in the low 90s, and Lachlan Wells has matched that with his good heater.
Oh, wow. Snapped off a beauty of a breaking ball, and Lachlan Wells goes 1-2-3 through Japan in the 6th. Great ball game here tonight, 1-1. Well, that wasn't much of a home run trot, but as we noted, Alan D. San Miguel doesn't hit a lot of home runs. That an important moment for Australia. First run of this ball game. Japan answered, got a run in the 5th, and in the bottom of the 6th now, 1-1 ball game. Kodai Senga for Japan. Luke Hughes, Mitchell Denning, Tim Kennelly for the Australians, and a fastball is up, no swing on the appeal.
94 miles an hour from Senga. He's a starter. He had started his career pitching out of the bullpen, but last year he made 25 starts for Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. He went 12-3 for the regular season. He's got a good fastball. This might be the best fastball we've seen so far in this tournament.
I was just about to say, I think we've seen more velocity in this game from both sides than we've seen in the first 2 games of Pool B, including Japan and Cuba last night, Cuba and China today. In case you haven't heard, Japan winners last night. They beat Cuba 11-6. And Cuba took on China and shut them out, beat them 6-0 today. Breaking ball fouled back to the screen. And so that's a big win, obviously, for Japan. But if they lose this game, then all of a sudden, you know, they have all that pressure and things get a little odd, and you never know. Just ask Korea up in Pool A how that's going.
Japan will not play again until Friday night. That'll be their final game against Team China. So they'll have Thursday off. They have more pitching depth than anybody in this pool. So they aren't as concerned about burning out relievers. They're going to go with the matchups.
Now, Friday here in Japan is the last scheduled date for the first round. However, on Saturday, if there is a 3-way tie, say there's 3 teams at 2-1, then you have a play-in game on Saturday to get to round 2 for one of the teams. There's the express. That's 95 on the gun. And Luke Hughes goes down swinging.
Yeah, that's the best fastball we have seen through the early stages of this pool play. And Senga comes in, gets a big strikeout. He had 181 strikeouts during the regular season last year in 169 innings. So he knows how to use that fastball.
Mitchell Denning has bounced to second twice. And that's fouled out of play. Boy, Australia had a great opportunity in the 5th with the bags loaded and 1 out Toshia Okada struggling. He had walked a batter and he'd gone 2-0 on James Beresford. Beresford went after the 2-0 pitch and bounced into a 4-6-3 double play.
There's a good splitter. That's a wicked combination. You throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and then you've got that good splitting down in the zone. Comes out of the hand of the pitcher, looks like a fastball, and then the bottom drops out.
And as you noted, Australia's had some issues with the splitter. And tonight's starter, Sugano, doesn't really throw a splitter or doesn't really feature it. He'll show it once in a while, but it's not one of his go-to pitches. And so maybe as you get later into this game and deeper into the bullpen, you might run into a few guys who throw the split a little bit more, which has traditionally been a very popular pitch here in Japan. Here's the 1-2. And there it is again. Buck Martinez, why is it an effective pitch, and why has it always been so popular over here?
Well, I think because of the culture of the Japanese players, they really work hard to master the pitch, and the baseball over here is a little bit slicker. And I think that has a lot to do with why the pitchers are so effective throwing that splitter. And again, they will throw 100, 150, 200 pitches, sometimes even 300 pitches in a side session to really refine their fundamentals and work on mastering pitches. And I think that's why that splitter has become so prominent and so effective for the pitchers here in Japan.
So why is the slick ball easier to throw a splitter with?
It comes out of your hand much easier than the Major League Baseball, and I just think it plays into their success. But I think more than anything, it's the fact that they don't settle. They push themselves fundamentally. We have heard talks of pitchers throwing 300 and 400 pitches in side sessions just to master the strike zone, master their pitches. They're never satisfied unless everything is together by the time they finish their work.
Here's the 2-0. And dialing up 92 on the fastball.
You remember when Daisuke Matsuzaka first joined the Red Sox, he wanted to throw every day. And they had to get to him and say, hey, you can't do that. You're going to pitch on a 5-day rotation. So unlike pitching here in Japan when they pitch once a week, the pitchers are so anxious to pitch every day to make sure they refine their pitches. That's not foreign to Major League Baseball. Johnny Sain, the great pitching coach for many years, always encouraged his pitchers to throw every day off of the mound.
That one is ripped, but foul.
Remember those great Braves teams that featured Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz? They got on the mound every day. Didn't throw with 100% effort, but they repeated their delivery every single day. Tommy John and Jim Cott, who had long, very successful careers in the major leagues, learned under Johnny Sain, and they both took the mound every day to repeat that delivery.
3-2 coming. That's a fair ball, and it's off the glove of Matsuda. And Australia has a base runner here with 2 outs in the 6th. Now, just to further the story about the baseball and the slick ball here in NPB, the baseball used in the World Baseball Classic is a Major League Baseball. It does have the World Baseball Classic logo on it, but it's a Rawlings baseball to Major League specs.
Yeah, same specs as a Major League Baseball, but I think it just gets back into that.
Did they get the Delaware mud and rub it up? Do they fly that over here? Or do they get some mud from?
I'm sure they do. From the Delaware River?
Well, you might be able to find a suitable replacement here in Japan, right?
There's certainly enough water around Tokyo.
Stefan Welch is up with a runner at first, 2 outs. And quickly it's 0-2.
Senga thought he had thrown strike 3. He started to head toward the dugout. didn't get the call he was looking for. He's impressive. You can see why he's able to rack up 181 strikeouts last season. Just that simple combination of a good hard fastball and a very effective splitter. That'll lead to a lot of strikeouts.
Whew. 94. Good fastball, good life on it, and Welch goes down. Ah, a little fried octopus. Australia and Japan, one apiece. 7th inning. Sho Nakata. Breaking ball, left field, deep, gone. Matt Williams just in the game, his first pitch, a breaking ball, and Nakata was all over it.
And it backed up right into his wheelhouse, and Nakata opened up front side, and that ball just stayed on the inner part of the plate. Watch how he opens up that front side, and the ball comes inside and hangs out over the plate. Williams knew it immediately as soon as he let it go.
Boy, Australia got 4 innings out of Tim Atherton, 2 scoreless out of Lachlan Wells. Williams is in, and Nakata with that uppercut swing blasts one into the seats. And it's 2-1. Japan, their first lead of the ball game.
Matt Williams is 30 years old. He's got a lot of experience in the Australian League. Pitched as a reliever.
Beresford. And there's an out here in the 7th.
Williams, like so many of these Australian players, played 6 years in the minors in the Twins organization. They've got a real connection with Minnesota. Signed as a non-drafted free agent in 2004. He made all the way up to Double-A. And he has since played the last 7 winters in the Arizona Baseball League.
Seiya Suzuki. Boy, this is just a bubbling cauldron of fun right now here in Japan. If you could, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. It's a great mix of European soccer, of college basketball. That one pulled foul.
And it gives you the feel of being at Cameron Indoor Arena, where they stand up for the entire game and they kind of jump up and down, and this is a very animated crowd. And remember, this is an all-star team, and these people here recognize every player that plays in both leagues here in Japan, and they have really made them feel like they're playing at home.
Williams gets a breaking ball for a strike. The outfield, the folks in the outfield are just going nuts right now. I think they've run out of steam at 3-2.
No, they don't. He'll be back up before this next pitch.
Oof. Didn't miss by much. And Suzuki is aboard.
Williams tries to get him to chase a breaking ball, but Suzuki shows good patience and lays off that hook. Suzuki's just 22 years old. What a good-looking young player he is.
Now you got Matsuda, who drove in the first run with a sacrifice fly.
Suzuki has a big lead at first, and he's got some speed. He had 16 stolen bases last year.
He's got a big lead. And Matsuda swings at the first pitch. It's 0-1.
I think you might see him run in this situation because Williams throws a lot of breaking balls. It takes a little bit longer for that breaking ball to get to the catcher. And he has shown that he'll bounce one from time to time.
Matsuda's driven in 5 runs in a game and a half. Williams has got him out front. It's 0-2.
Matsuda, with that exaggerated leg kick, can fall victim to slow breaking balls. Really throws his timing off, and Williams has that slow curveball.
Japan and Australia, they have never met in the World Baseball Classic. It's the first time. 0-2 coming. Oh, another breaking ball that hung up there, and Matsuda missed it.
Trying to get the breaking ball down and away. That's about the same pitch that Nakata hit out of the ballpark to start this inning. Williams threw him a first pitch breaking ball. It stayed up and in the inner half, and Nakata hit it out of the ballpark.
Kobayashi, the catcher, runner bluffs, and Kobayashi swings and misses. A sacrifice bunt and a ground out.
This crowd is very loyal. Kobayashi, although he doesn't hit much, still has crowd chanting for him, saying his name. 200 hitter during the regular season, but they like the way he catches.
Boy, he's trying to replace a legendary player, a great player, Shinosuke Abe, the great catcher for the Giants, who's transitioning out from behind the plate.
Kobayashi plays for the Yomiuri Giants right here in this ballpark. And he's become the everyday catcher since Abe has moved to first base. Abe, a former MVP in the league, a terrific two-way catcher. But now he's made that transition to play first base, and Kobayashi has taken over behind the plate for the Giants.
1-2. High pop. It brings Welch towards the dugout, and it's up over the screen and out of play.
What a terrific ball game. Nakata with the home run to give Japan a 2-1 lead, but the hits are even at 5 apiece. Japan has committed the only error in this ball game. The shortstop Sakamoto had one go off his glove.
Another 1-2 comes. And another pop-up, and this one's going to be in play. Hughes calls for it. And Australia has the third out. But before they got the first out, Sho Nakata on the first pitch gives Japan the lead. 2-1 to the bottom of the 7th. Moments ago, Sho Nakata, after the solo homer, gives Japan the lead. Nice acknowledgement.
Crowd had a nice reaction as he took his position at first base, and he acknowledged their support. Nakata, over 8 seasons, has pounded out 161 home runs for his team, the Nippon Ham Fighters. They are the reigning champs of Japanese baseball. A .257 career hitter, but he's got power at 25 in a regular season last year.
Alan de San Miguel against the hard-throwing Kodai Senga.
Watch out for foul balls.
San Miguel has been on twice, hit by a pitch in the 5th, homered in the 2nd. His homer in the 2nd to right field, one that he lost track of. He stopped at 2nd, thinking the ball must have still been in play. I don't know that he realized that he hit it that well. Trent Oltgen and Brad Harmon. This is the bottom of the 3rd of Australia's order. Australia had a great opportunity to get by them in the 5th. And Japan has taken a 2-1 lead. Good breaking ball, good location. We were talking after watching Kodai Senga work that he has one of the livest arms, if not the livest arm we've seen so far.
There's another good splitter. He gets the swing ball in the dirt, throw to first to complete the strikeout. That's 4 strikeouts. All the outs he's recorded since coming into the game have come on the strikeout. He's got a good fastball. He's touched 95, and then he throws this ball, a splitter in the dirt, and de San Miguel waves at it.
And as you noted, this is a starter. This is a guy that was a very good starter last year. 181 strikeouts in 169 innings, a 2.61 ERA. But his manager in this World Baseball Classic is not going to use him as the, the second starter, a guy that comes in and pitches 3 or 4 innings in the middle of the game or in the later stages. This is a guy that Kukubo wants to use late. Likes that fastball, likes that sharp breaking ball. Oltgen, and he rolls over on one, and Senga has 2 more outs.
Senga last season transitioned to the starter's role for the first time in his career. He made 25 starts. All of his appearances for SoftBank Hawks came as a starter. And you can see why. He's got a live arm and certainly got a terrific frame for a pitcher. Long arms, great balance, good body. Just 24 years old. Boy, they broke him in right. He started his career as a 19-year-old, appeared in just 2 games. And then in 2013, appeared in 51 games, working out of the bullpen. But they have brought him along slowly, obviously with the intention of transitioning him into a starter. And he has made that very effectively. 12-3 last year, pitching out of the rotation for SoftBank.
Brad Harmon had a really nice at bat that set up the opportunity in the 5th. So he's 1 for 2. He's got a 2-0 pitch to swing at here.
One of the few breaking balls we've seen, but Senga's able to drop it in for a strike and get right back into the at bat. 2-1 now.
Inside with a fastball. Straight back, Kobayashi lost sight, and it's out of play. Heads up for foul balls.
Just another reminder. You get inside in the dome with this light colored roof, and if you don't track it immediately off the bat as a catcher, you'll have a tough time locating it. Oftentimes when you play indoors, Metrodome, Tropicana Field. They'll have a series of numbers they'll call out to help you out, try to get you in the area of the pop-up.
Matsuda. And Kodiai Senga has been just what Japan has needed. 2-1, Japan. Tokyo Bay, nighttime here in the World Baseball Classic. This is Pool B to start with. The next round will be here in Tokyo as well. And so the two that advance from Korea will come here and join the two that get out of Pool B. Matt Williams continues. Tetsudo Yamada, top of the order. Right center, and well hit. Denning got it, runs it down on the warning track. Out in right center field. It's a 400 feet to straightaway center, but the gaps here are not real deep. 361 to the gaps in right and left center. 400 straightaway center field. And this is one of those dome stadiums, and some have come and gone in Major League Baseball. The Metrodome one, the Kingdome in Seattle, that when you put 35, 40,000 in them, the temperature warms up and the ball seems to fly a lot better than when it's not full at all, or really cold.
That was always the case in the Kingdom for sure. When you had bigger crowds, the ball seemed to jump. And you remember the All-Star game they played there early on. Packed house, and the ball was really flying out of that yard. Same for Metrodome, and neither one of those ball clubs still in play, obviously. Two beautiful ballparks have replaced those former domes. Safeco Field and Target Field.
High pop. Hughes with help from Beresford, and Beresford makes the catch. And so Kikuchi is out. And remember, Matt Williams came into the ball game, started the 7th, and his first pitch was hit out by Sho Nakata. And that's the difference in the ball game. John Diebel is on his way out, and tomorrow night, Australia will be back out here as well. Australia and China, a 7 o'clock start here in Tokyo. Williams gives the ball to Diebel, exits here. And a pitching change. John Kennedy, lefties coming in. 2-1 Japan. 2-1 ball game. Top of the 8th inning. John Kennedy, who pitched over the winter with the Melbourne Aces. Of course, that's not winter down there. Kennedy in now. He'll face Aoki with 2 outs, and he drops in a breaking ball for a strike.
Kennedy's just 21 years old, has been given the assignment of closing out the top half of the 8th. 2 outs. Aoki takes a tough pitch down and away. 0-2.
Commissioner Rob Manfred was here last night. He would like what he sees here with Kennedy, who gets it and throws it. He does not wander around the mound. All business. The pitch misses in.
He's got to work quickly. The Team Australia pitching coach is his uncle. He'll hear about it and say, hey man, throw it over. Let's go. Done a good job.
Doesn't want Phil Dale on his case, huh?
Just 21 years old, but he has pitched in the Australian League for 5 seasons. This is his debut on the Australian national team. And he loses Aoki after getting ahead 0-2.
Well, and the guy he's got to face now has much better power than Aoki, and that's Yoshitomo Tsugo.
Saw the catcher, the veteran catcher, Ellen de San Miguel, go out to encourage a youngster, just 21 years old. Hey, man, your stuff is good. Throw a strike. Tsugo, a dangerous hitter, but he has gone 0 for 3 to this point. Struck out swinging in the first, caught looking in the sixth. 0 for 3 with a ground out.
Tsudo. We've been able to get the translation to his song. Of course, he's got big power, and it translates into high into the Yokohama sky. Blast us a home run, Tsugo. Come on, hit it. Tsugo, blast it to the back of the sky. Go, go, Tsugo.
Now that's a chant.
That is.
I mean, that is a big league chant. Scripted out for a 44 home run hitter. Tsugo plays for the Yokohama Bay Stars, and that, to me, that wins it right there.
And that's why I've liked it, Buck. Before I even knew the translation, it just had gusto to it. It was not slap a single for us. Maybe how about a sacrifice bunt? Pitch by Kennedy evens the count 2-2. To right and deep and gone. High into the Tokyo sky. Just like the song. The big man delivers for the second night in a row.
John Kennedy coming into the game, and he got ahead of Aoki 0-2 and then walked him and brought Tsugo to the plate. 21-year-old lefty had Aoki on the hook and let him off, and then Tsugo does his thing. With the fans chanting, hit it to the sky, he delivers.
Sho Nakata now. 2 home runs, 2 late home runs have given Japan the lead. A 4-1 lead in the 8th.
Japan hit 2 home runs in their win against Cuba. 2 more here tonight, and manager and coaches were trying to discount the power of this team, but it has shown up.
Nakata walks. Kennedy has struggled here. A walk to Aoki. The home run to Tsugo. And now Sakamoto, the shortstop.
21-year-old John Kennedy came in the ball game with 2 outs and nobody on, and he had 2 left-handers to deal with. He got ahead of Aoki 0-2 and then walked him, and then the big 2-run home run.
4-1 Japan here in the 8th. Yoshitomo Tsugo, a home run last night. was a big part of the win over Cuba. And a home run here is a big part of a 4-1 lead over Australia.
Brian Searley, the new pitcher into the ball game, 27 years old, and he has pitched all over the world. Actually pitched in Bologna in the Italian Baseball League in 2016. Pitched for the Cubs in the minor leagues. Signed with the Cubs in January of 2007. He's got a pretty good fastball.
A strike and it's 0-1. Well, for Australia, they've had their moments tonight. A really nice start by Tim Atherton. Lachlan Woods, the lefty, was very good in relief. But the bullpen could not hold a 1-0 lead. And Japan, who busted loose for 11 runs in last night's ball game, has put 4 on the board in the late innings here. Sakamoto, immensely popular. Yomiuri Giants shortstop. Roller to short. And Harmon's throw is in time. But the big man strikes again. Yoshitomo Tsutsugo. And it's 4-1. Well, the Japanese version of a curtain call waits until the hero gets out into the field.
Acknowledging the fans, and if you're wondering, does that happen during the regular season when a player is on the road? And indeed it does. These teams travel their fans so well, there's generally a section of fans for the visiting team, and if a visiting player hits a home run, they will acknowledge those fans with that bow and show their appreciation for the support they get from their local fans.
Naoki Miyanishi, a lefty out of the bullpen for Japan, a very slender ERA last year with the Nippon Ham Fighters. And Australia now has to make up 3 runs and is down to their last 6 outs. Top of the order, David Candelas, James Beresford, and Luke Hughes. Sweeping breaking ball from Miyanishi. Japan's bullpen has been good. They got 4 1/3 from Tomoyuki Sugano.
Miyanishi is a veteran reliever. He received an award. I think we might see this award down the road in the major leagues as the most valuable reliever award, because he had 39 holds. That's become such an important stat in the major leagues, and I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the road they have an award for a setup guy.
Kikuchi. And there's 1 out here in the 8th. So the Rolaids Relief Man Award always goes to a closer. Well, one of the biggest moments in this ballgame for Australia, they had a chance. A wild pitch, a walk, bags loaded, and a 2-0 pitch. And Beresford bounced into a double play, agonizing. Japan had just tied the game at 1, and Australia had an opportunity to get back in the lead, and as it is, Australia still has just the 1 run. Japan has rallied for 3 more.
With 2 outs, Toshiya Okada came into the game and threw 4 straight balls to load the bases. Then he threw 2 balls to Beresford in a borderline pitch. Beresford offered at it and bounced into a routine 4-6-3 double play to end the threat. Big sweeping breaking ball missed outside.
Miyanichi, look how far out Kobayashi is. And he hit the corner. And Beresford goes down.
Team Japan is so deep in their bullpen, they can give the opponents many different looks, and this is a sidearm fastball that catches the outside corner, and Beresford is called out on strikes.
You know, for Australia, it's frustrating right now, but there still is a path to the next round, because if they're able to beat China and then beat Cuba, they would end up at 2-1, and Cuba would end up at 1-2 because Cuba lost to Japan.
Yeah, but you can't convince John Diebel of that. He had the chance to win this ball game, and he had a great start from Atherton. You look at the bullpen, and Wells pitched 2 scoreless innings, had a couple of strikeouts, and only threw 20 pitches, so he'll be fresh and ready to come back. But John Diebel had a chance to win this game from the host team.
But remember, here's the nuance that really hurts Australia. You cannot pitch in 3 consecutive days, and because of the way the schedule falls, Australia plays on 3 consecutive days, but not Cuba. Cuba has an off day, and so you have to be judicious with how you use your relievers in a 3-day stretch. If you're playing on all 3 days, that ball is hit to left field and deep, but it hooks foul.
Yeah, it's really unfair the way they have set up the schedule, because the teams that have the least depth have to play 3 days in a row. Both Japan and Cuba, the more talented teams and the deeper teams for sure, have an off day, so everybody can rest their pitchers and bring them back. So it's really handcuffed both China and Australia, because they have to play 3 consecutive days with a much more limited roster.
Well, they can grouse about it tomorrow night because they play each other, Australia and China. And right now, Japan is rolling. A big home run from Tsutsugo and great relief pitching for Samurai Japan. Australia could not hold an early lead, and the 9th inning rolls around. Japan up 4-1. Seiya Suzuki is up. Tomorrow we're right back here in Australia, and China will play. China still has to play Japan, and that'll be the final day. A day-night doubleheader, if you will, on Friday in Tokyo, with Australia and Cuba meeting at noon, and then China and Japan playing the nightcap.
China's got an interesting starter in that game tomorrow, Quan Ju, who was born in China but pitches in Korea, and he's a starter in the Korean baseball organization for the KT Wiz. A young pitcher, and many people tell us that he could potentially be a 4th or 5th starter in the big leagues.
Suzuki has a base hit.
Seiya Suzuki's been on base his last 3 times to the plate. Singled in the 5th, walked in the 7th, and now he has a leadoff single here in the 9th. This is a balanced lineup, man. There aren't too many easy outs in the lineup.
And it helps that your number 8 hitter is having a great tournament. Nobuhiro Matsuda, though he's 0 for 2, he had an important sacrifice fly to tie the game. That after driving in 4 on 4 hits, including a home run last night. Serlin over to first.
Matsuda's an 11-year veteran who had some overtures from the San Diego Padres, but they wanted him to be a utility player. He wanted to stay at third base, so they couldn't work things out.
Runner goes, hit and run, and it's fouled back, out of play.
Matsuda's become the everyday third baseman for the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, and he's played every game 4 of the last 6 seasons. Matsuda's now 33 years old, and he played in the WBC in 2013. There are a lot of first-time World Baseball Classic participants for Team Japan in this tournament. Matsuda and Aoki have played in the WBC in the past. This is the 3rd for the center fielder, Nori Aoki.
Well, the youth comes with Yamada at 24, Tsutsugo at 25, Suzuki at 22. Suzuki at first, Matsuda with a 2-2 count.
Fastball just off the plate outside, and Matsuda lays off of it. Looked like Suzuki was running. He had a lean towards second. He can run a bit too. It's a good combination of power and speed. 16 steals during the regular season a year ago.
He had a big stolen base of home in the Japan series last year.
Game 2 of that series, front end of a double steal. He stole home.
Ouch. And that one got him as he was back at first and in a vulnerable spot.
It may have hit him on the elbow as he was stretching out to reach for the bag. Ball was in the dirt and got past the first baseman, Hughes. And you watch him as he dives back in and reaches for that bag and hits him right on the point of the elbow. I can smile about it now. Obviously, got hit on the elbow, and sometimes it'll hit your funny bone, and the elbow go numb for a while, but he appears to be okay, and he's kind of shaking it off. That's one of the concerns about the World Baseball Classic. It's before the regular season, and a lot of front office personnel worried about the possibility of injury to some of their regular players.
Up the middle, into center, and that's a hit for Matsuda. And Japan with runners at first and second. Although if you scan the papers of spring training, you'll find plenty of injuries in spring training. I remember, well, I guess it was Mark Teixeira. That was one much heralded injury in terms of, hey, he got hurt preparing for the World Baseball Classic. He got hurt swinging off a tee. So, I mean, it's hardly the fault of the World Baseball Classic.
No, it's just the nature of playing, and you know what? You can get hurt anytime, anywhere. And pitchers fielding practice. A couple of years ago, Marcus Stroman tore his ACL in pitcher's fielding practice with the Toronto Blue Jays, so you never know what might come up. And I just don't think that's a very strong argument to discount the impact of the World Baseball Classic.
Well, pickoff play was on. There were two middle infielders at second base when Searle delivered that pitch. And the Australian infield probably looking into Craig Shipley right now and see what they want as far as a bunt coverage. Well, they've got the perfect guy. I mean, Kobayashi has been the designated bunter on this team for 2 nights.
That time they put the wheel play on, but had a pickoff play on at second base at the same time. And Stefan Welch, the third baseman, he's given the signs to the rest of his infield mates. They expect Kobayashi to bunt, and he has shown that he's going to bunt a lot. And there you can see the third baseman finishing up the series of signs. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get the lead runner at third.
Can you be a prolific bunter? I mean, can you use those two words in the same sentence?
Yeah. 19 bunts last year. That was prolific.
A prolific sacrifice bunter. Drops it down and pushes runners 90 apiece. Kobayashi is a bunting star here.
Well, they had the wheel play on, and Stefan Welch, the third baseman, was crashing in from third. He took a look to third base, but thought it would be too close to make a chancy throw, so they take the out at first base. And Kobayashi, his second sacrifice bunt. Watch the third baseman. He'll look over his shoulder and quickly determine that he has no play at third. Good bunt by Kobayashi. A prolific bunter.
Thank you. Well, Australia wants nothing to do with Tetsudo Yamada. They'd like to set up a double play. Ryosuke Kikuchi, the second baseman, who was 1 for 4 tonight and 3 for 8 in these first 2 games of the World Baseball Classic.
Well, this is something that you'll see in the World Baseball Classic that you won't see in the major leagues. A 4-pitch intentional walk. And there's one that almost gets away. People discount the impact of just making a signal to first base, but I think there's a real impact. Pitcher lobs 4 pitches in, loads the bases, and then you have a dangerous hitter coming up behind him, and you got to make a good first pitch after lobbing 4 straight balls. I think that's a challenge.
So what you're saying is you're going to miss the impact on a relief pitcher of having to change his mechanics, lob 4 wide ones up there.
Now, how about if you walk Jose Bautista to load the bases, and Josh Donaldson's the next batter in the 9th inning in a tie game, and you got to make a good first pitch after lobbing in 4 pitches. Now you don't have to make those 4 lob pitches, and it never really disrupts your timing or rhythm as a pitcher.
Kikuchi now, and Australia will play for 2 up the middle with Harmon and Beresford. Hughes and Welch are even at the corners. Kikuchi to right. Candelas has some momentum, makes the catch. Runner is held. Great throw.
Very good throw as Candelas got behind the baseball, had his momentum going straight toward home plate, made a strong throw. And chose not to take a chance to try to score him. Gets himself in good position, and boy, does he make a strong throw and fires a seed all the way into home plate on the fly.
John Diebel, trying to get out of this bases loaded spot and keep it at 3, is going to his bullpen. 4-1 Japan in the 9th. All right, let's do a little bit of a game summary here. This was Australia's moment early. Their catcher, the big guy, Alan De San Miguel homering. And in a 1-1 tie, an enormous double play by Japan. That was a 2-0 pitch as well. And then the big swing, Sho Nakata. After his curtain call, Yoshitomo Tsutsugo. Now that's a good look. And another very large and boisterous crowd. Pretty darn happy tonight here in Tokyo.
Brian Roland Smith spent 5 seasons in the major leagues, came up with the Mariners in 2007, appeared in 26 games. He's got some experience, and he's been matched up with the left-hander Aoki. Last pitched in the big leagues for Arizona in 2014, appeared in just 6 games, total of 7 1/3.
Aoki takes a strike. Now this has to be fun for Aoki because he's been away from the game here, and so they don't chant his name. They didn't in Kansas City. They didn't in San Francisco. I don't think they chanted in Seattle. They only do that for the soccer team in Seattle. So he's back in the place where he started his career. He gets to hear the chant, but he doesn't get to that breaking ball. He swings and misses. Nicely done by the bullpen to get out of trouble in the 9th, but Australia down 3 in the 9th. This is Australia's debut in the World Baseball Classic here in 2017. It was going so well until the 7th when Sho Nakata homered. A Tsutsugo homer would follow, and Japan has built a 3-run lead and arrives in the bottom of the 9th. Kazuhisa Makita, who pitched the 9th inning last night, takes over for Naoki Miyanishi.
Makita gave up 2 hits to start his outing in last night's game, but settled down and was able to get out of it. Stranded a couple of base runners. Actually stranded the bases loaded. Got a final out as he struck out Despaigne to end the game.
Makita working from down under, as they say, but not. What do they call a submarining Australian pitcher?
It's not down under,
No,
is it?
It's not.
Makita works very quickly, and he's dealing with Denning here. That ball stayed up.
Mitchell Denning lifts it foul. Now see, those are the excite seats, and to protect the fans, those are the seats that are inside the screened area. So they put a glove and a helmet in each seat. You can choose to wear the helmet or use the glove, and this fan chose to use the glove.
And then after everything settles down there, as that fan has a souvenir, the ushers come down to check on the safety of everybody, make sure everybody's okay. See, that fan next to him has got the helmet on, and you can see the fan behind there with the helmet.
Denning goes down and drives that to center. Aoki makes the catch.
Makita's 32 years old, and he pitches for the Cebu Lions, and he throws a lot of strikes. And it's a real asset of his. With this delivery, you come in and the hitters have to make an adjustment and find your release point, and certainly throwing a lot of strikes is to your benefit. Hitters don't have a lot of pitches to make the adjustment with.
Kennelly takes outside. Australia needs base runners. And it's 2-2.
One thing I have seen in the first 2 games played by Team Japan, pitchers are working a lot quicker than we have seen in the past. Makita certainly doing that. Senga, who really had a good outing here with 4 strikeouts in 2 innings, he too worked very quickly.
It's a foul ball. That one just skipped by the base.
I think when you're a pitcher and you work quickly, it sends a very positive message to the hitter. Say, hey man, this guy likes what he's throwing. He's not wasting any time. He's coming right at me. He's got a lot of confidence. I think when hitters see a pitcher toe the rubber, pick up the rosin bag, take a lot of time in between pitches, it has a tendency to make the hitter think that he's facing a guy that's not real sure of his stuff.
Little pop behind first, and Nakata is there, makes the catch. 2 outs here in the 9th inning. While the news out of Korea is that the Netherlands, on a walk-off walk, has beaten Chinese Taipei, and so Israel and the Netherlands, by going 2-0 to start in Pool A, will advance to Tokyo. How about that? The Netherlands not a surprise, but certainly Israel is. The mensch on the bench will travel to the Big Egg, the Tokyo Dome, for the 2nd round.
Netherlands is loaded offensively, and it looks like the same for Team Israel. They've got a lot of former major leaguers in their lineup. Vladimir Valentin tonight, 4 hits in that game against Chinese Taipei, and
he's a star here in Japan.
Got the home run record here in Japan. Didier Gregorius served as the DH tonight for the Netherlands, and he was 3 for 4 and drove in 3 runs. So
they got to put those shortstops someplace. Center field, DH.
Profar was the DH in last night's game, and tonight he started in center field and hit 2nd behind Atherton Simmons.
Look, as good as those shortstops are, Simmons is still the best defender of the bunch.
A former Platinum Glove winner is the best defender at his position.
Stephen Welch, the 2-2. Oh, that changeup floats, and it just missed in. And it's over. Japan is 2-0. Makita closes. Another homer from Tsutsugo. A home run from Sho Nakata. And Japan is 2-0. Australia tastes defeat in their first game with 2 more to play and 2 more days left in Pool B.
Well, Japan looks very legitimate. They've got a great offensive attack, and as well as Australia pitched them early on, Japan was retired 12 straight batters, but Sho Nakata broke things open with a home run, and then Tsutsugo, the big power hitting left fielder, hit another 2-run home run. So Japan has a 2-0 record early in this tournament. They'll have Thursday off before they play their final game on Friday night.
And it's Australia and China tomorrow night. Both those teams looking for a win, trying to stay alive and keep their hopes of advancing. Well, Japan last night blasted Cuba. Tonight they had to come from behind, but they used the long ball to do it. Sho Nakata. And that man again, Yoshitomo Tsutsugo. For Buck Martinez and our entire crew, I'm Rich Waltz. We'll see you again tomorrow night. From Tokyo, Japan is 2-0.